I am thrilled this week on Your Brand Amplified to have Pamela Wilson, who is an expert in copywriting, branding, everything for your online business. And I know I'm going to learn a lot today. Little side note, I have an online course that I was like trying to push out, totally just redid and want to push out. So I'm actually your ideal audience today, along with so many people who are listening. So Pamela, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I am really excited to be here, and I can't wait to hear about that course. So let's make it happen.
Fantastic. So first, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your story and how you got into consulting and consulting in your niche.
Yeah. Well, I'm celebrating 30 years in business this year. So I've been doing this for a long time, always in the marketing space. That's where I've been all throughout my career. And I brought my business online in 2010 and sort of fell into what a lot of us fall into, which is we're earning a great living offline in our careers or in our offline businesses. And then we come online and suddenly we need to kind of package it up and supposedly sell it for $395 or whatever. So I went through some years kind of trying to figure out how to make that math work. And since I figured it out, I've been kind of on a mission to help people who are in the online space and who are truly experts to be able to make a really great living with that expertise online. So that's kind of my passion at the moment. And digital marketing, of course, all the digital marketing things, we get to use all those tools to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was the disconnect you were seeing? Because I know one of the things that you do is the Offer Accelerator.
Yes.
And that you have a lot of passion behind it.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And honestly, I think the best online offers happen because you feel this need to almost like right a wrong. So what I saw was a lot of people who, well, two things were happening really. First of all, they came online and they got this messaging that you have to create low ticket offers and ascend people up a value ladder and have a product that's $17 and $97 and $497 and just this. And, human beings don't necessarily behave that way, right? A lot of people are looking for a solution and they don't want to buy your $17 version of the solution. They actually just want to get help from you. And so I have been kind of on I kind of have this passion to help people create these higher value offers that actually solve problems. But the other kind of concurrent thing that happened to me is I used to work for Copyblogger. I don't know if you know that business, but they were really, when they started out, especially an industry leader in content marketing. And I wrote 2 books about content marketing, the Master Content series. And I was kind of teaching content marketing and kind of known as an industry leader on the topic of content marketing. And what I discovered when I started really working with people one-on-one and coaching them is people had this idea that creating content was their business.
Oh,
yeah. Like I'm working so hard. I'm writing all the blog posts. I'm recording all the podcasts, but like, I'm not making money. And there was this disconnect between like the hard work they were legitimately doing, right? They were building an audience, which is what everybody is told. You have to build an audience. But if you don't have something to sell that audience, then you don't have a source of reliable revenue and you don't really have a business, right? And so I spent some years in this really high profile job working for Copyblogger, kind of coaching people who were in that predicament. And I started to feel bad about that. I was like, I got to do something about this. So once I left Copyblogger and was back in my own business again, that was when I really started feeling like I need to show people how actual businesses are built and how they can create an offer that will generate revenue and give them consistent business revenue so that they have an actual business, not just a content platform. Does that make sense?
that makes a lot of sense. Yes. And I think the other pitfall that happens with a lot of people who are trying to show how easy it is in air quotes.
Yes, total
Of an
air
online
quotes.
course,
Yeah.
is that they say, I mean, to your point, you said, okay, you have to have these kind of offers. These are the price points. You have to have this sales funnel. You need to have this Facebook group, all of these different things that are frankly kind of unwieldy and unmanageable and might not be authentic for what your product or service is that you're trying to sell.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel a lot of passion towards this too, because I get bombarded by all the messages and I'm like, but that's not the path that I feel I can take. So how do you advise people to focus on the best offers that they can do? Because I know one of the things that you do a lot is you said high ticket value, and also, don't think about the fluff, right? Those other
Yes.
things that aren't really helping people get to the next point.
Right. It's really interesting because it actually, in a way, it makes my Offer Accelerator program harder to sell because I'm not telling people, hey, I have this solution in a box I'm going to sell you and
Mm.
it works for everyone. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. And it's one of the reasons I really enjoy being on podcasts because you just have a chance to actually explain what it is you do. So thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big thing that I encourage people to do is to look inward because it's very likely that the solution for the offer you need to create is already sitting inside of you. And it is based on your personal values. So the things that you think are important in this world. And it is also based on your current skill set. So for example, you are clearly comfortable on video and you're comfortable making audio, right? So if I was to build a higher value offer with you, I would say, hey, let's use your current skill set. I'm not going to ask you to suddenly learn how to, do this obscure thing and base your offer on this obscure thing that you don't know how to do. Let's use your current skill set. So it's your values, it's your skill set, and then it's really knowing your audience and the kind of transformation that they are looking for. And then just looking at how you can deliver that transformation using your skill set, right? And in a way that reflects your values. At this point, I've been doing it so long that I kind of see digital marketing like this massive toolbox, right? And there's so many options. You just name some of them. You've got the Facebook groups and there's the funnels and the email marketing, and none of those things are necessarily wrong. They might be the perfect solution for some audiences, but they might not be. So I think it's smart to work with somebody who can kind of pull a bunch of different tools out of the toolbox and you can figure out what's actually going to work for you, which is why when people graduate from my Offer Accelerator, like no two clients look alike. They're so completely different. I mean, it's unbelievable. Their industries are different, their solutions are different. And I love that. That keeps it interesting for me. And I never want to feel like I'm just creating like cookie cutter clients with cookie cutter solutions.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think that something that really resonated with me is, I do the same thing when I have a marketing or PR client. I might take them through the same steps to start with so I can get the right information, but then what their program is going to be customized based on same things, where they are in the process, what they're offering, what resources they have. And if they've missed a few steps, then I'm going to say, okay, no, we're not going to start with PR. We're going to start back here and make sure that you are really dialed in to your brand and what you're trying to offer the world.
You're adapting to them. Go figure.
Yeah. Well, and not enough people do that.
I told you, yes, absolutely. And, I came from an offline business where I was adapting all the time.
Wow.
And then I came online and suddenly it was like, you had to package everything up and make it the same for everyone. And I'm like, ugh. I went along with that for a while, but then I realized like, this is ridiculous. And it also doesn't even work. So.
Yeah. Well, so how do people, I imagine some people come to you and they have an idea, but they don't even know what exactly that's going to turn into. They say, I know
Yeah.
that this is something that I don't see and that I want to offer, but I don't know how to even start.
I actually love it when people are at that point.
Oh.
Because it's when people come and they say, I want to join your program so that I can create XYZ solution that I saw somewhere and I want to make my own version of that. a lot of times what we end up doing is kind of pulling apart their idea of what they think they want to create, because it may not actually be the best solution for their audience or the best combination of their skill set and all of that. So I actually like it when people kind of say, this is the transformation. I'm not really sure how I want to make that happen, because then it's like, okay, well, let's go into it, the toolbox, and see what we have here. And I put people through this process of kind of analyzing their values and their strengths. And then we do, I'm sure you do this as well. We do market research, but I call it market exploration, because we try to make it kind of fun.
Yeah.
We make the process fun. So we do that. And they're able to really see what's out in the market already, because I think it's really smart to get to know the market that you want to enter. Like, I want to hang out in this market. I want to serve the same group of people. What are they seeing as solutions now? So that when I put my offer in among all those other solutions, I kind of know how it's going to fit. I think that's so important. And people don't take the time to do it often. A lot of times they just see, like I said, somebody else's solution, and they say, well, I want my version of that. Right.
Oh yeah. All the time. And they think it's going to be really fast to get there because they see somebody else's success, and it's not
Yes.
overnight success. I mean, as you mentioned, you've been doing this for 30 years in different iterations. And that took you to your aha moment of like, oh, wow, this is what I really need to be helping people do.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing the online business since 2010. So that's
Right.
had a shorter life. And that was all definitely based on everything I learned kind of in my offline business. But yeah, it does take it takes a while, and also it can be fast. Do you mind if I explain what I mean
Yeah,
by that?
please.
So one of the things that I do with people is I take them through this process where they go from this kind of vague notion of what they want to create to a minimum viable offer that they can test in less than 30 days. So we do all that work within the first month. And what we're doing at the end of that month is we're testing a version of their offer that is minimum viable. So it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. It doesn't have the fancy learning management platform or, the super polished, super produced videos or whatever. It's not super polished, but it delivers transformation. And they test it by actually selling it. So this is one of the reasons that I like to work with people who have existing audiences, because you need to sort of have a group of people gathered that you can put an offer in front of so you can test it. But we do that testing right, like immediately. Because I actually want people to get feedback right away. Like, are people loving it? Is it working for them? Or do we have to go back to the drawing board? Right.
Yeah.
So my program is 6 months long, but that first 30 days is kind of intense, and we get results right away. We're getting, let's say we get data right away, because once you test, you have data, you know how it's performing, and if you want to pursue it or you want to pursue something else.
What have you had, and I'm sure you have, times when somebody was very successful with their offer and then they're like, oh, but I don't even have my program designed yet?
So it sort of depends on how you define success, I guess. But, for us, I have people go into this testing process with I'm going to count this as a success if I get X number of people to sign up. And that X is based on how many people are going to see the offer. What is a normal conversion rate in our industry, which is probably 2 or 3%, right? And so based on how many people see the offer and how many people sign up for this minimum viable kind of test version of your offer, then we say, hey, this did great. You got 5 people. And 100 people saw the offer and 5 people signed up. That's great. That's great. And from those 5 people, you're working with them, you're getting feedback, you're finding out if they are achieving the transformation that you wanted to help them achieve. You're getting all sorts of data. So like 5 people could be a success in some circumstances, right? So what they have tested, though, is kind of a minimum viable version. And then this really beautiful thing happens, which is that their customers start telling them, this part was amazing. I loved this part. Or they say, can you explain that again? I didn't really understand that. Can you go over that again? And so they start getting feedback that they, a lot of times when we are experts, we can't really remember what it was like to be a beginner in our topic. We don't remember. It's that curse of knowledge, right? Curse of knowledge where you know so much that you don't know what it's like to not know things, right? So that doing that test offer and getting direct feedback from people is a great way to make sure that you're actually delivering something that works, right? So people do not have their program created, not the ultimate version of their program when they're putting that test out. What we do is if they sort of pass the test and they're happy with the feedback that they're getting, then we start creating the more elaborate version of their offer. We start building a system for marketing that offer. I'm kind of like a systems and processes geeky person. So I help them develop processes for getting everything delivered so that it's kind of easy and smooth. So the first month is when we're working on that test. And then the next 5 months is when we're kind of responding to their test results.
Yeah, and I think that's important for people to understand. It's not overnight, and it shouldn't be, no matter what program you're going through or how you're trying to put together a program. If you don't have these steps in place, then you're probably not going to succeed as fast. You're not, whatever, again, the definition of success is, but you do need to make sure that everything's in the right place and in the right order.
Yes.
Yeah. And another thing that you do is, maybe not everybody has a course, right? But they have other content available, and you help them figure out how to have continuous revenue streams from that content. So what does that look like? And is that part of the same program, or?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. So I'm going to assume that you're talking about the fact that the content piece is kind of an important component to doing outreach with your audience, right? So depending on the kind of content people prefer to create, we keep that content going, and I can help them to optimize it. I created a course. So I wrote 2 books on content marketing. And like I said, I'm kind of known in that topic. So I had a course called the Content Lab, which is designed to make content creation really easy, especially for people who don't consider themselves writers. I just break down the process and make it really easy. So that is included in the Offer Accelerator. So if people need help with that, there's a way to get help. The other thing I think people find so valuable, and I don't see a lot of programs doing this online these days, is I give people personal feedback on the work they're doing. So, let's say you're in there and you put together a sequence of emails, but you know how it is. You're writing it on your own, and you don't really, after a while, you've been writing it for so long, you can't even see it anymore, And so what I do is I offer to people, like, you can send me a couple of things a week, just send them and I will give you feedback. I make Loom videos and give people feedback on what they're working on. And it's funny because when people graduate from the program, that is like inevitably the thing. They're like, it was so great to get feedback. So that's helpful because, there's a lot of moving parts to putting together a higher value offer. And it's really nice to have a second set of eyes looking at the things you're putting together.
What do you think are some of the most successful offers? And this is a very open question. Because I know that high value pricing, that people have different, I can't think of the right word.
Definitions.
Definitions. And they have different pain points of like what they consider a high value or high ticket offer that would be successful.
So if you don't mind, I would love to take just a second to define the difference, in my mind, at least, between high ticket and high value.
Oh, yes, please.
Everybody talks about high ticket, and, we all know what high ticket means. It means like lots of zeros, right? It's a more expensive offer. And in my world, I always use the term high value because I think it's, when I hear the word high ticket, that's about you or me. That's about the person who's selling the offer. Like, you're going to pay me a lot of money to get my offer. That's what, to me anyway, that's how it sounds to my ears. It's like high ticket is about, you're going to pay me a lot of money. High value is really about you delivering true value to the person that you're helping.
Mm.
And yes, they're going to pay you a higher value in return, but you are actually delivering real, true value. You're not just putting a lot of zeros at the end of a random offer, right? And that's a huge priority for me. Like, I actually want my graduates to have these very robust offers that really make a difference in people's lives, not just make them a lot of money, you know? And so I think there's a way to do both of those things. And that's why I use that term high value.
Nice.
So yeah, so let me remind me of the original question, because I just
I know, I think I threw like 3 questions out at you.
I know, sorry.
No. I think it was about some of the success stories that have come out of it. Out of your
Yes.
program.
Yeah. So the success stories are as varied as the graduates, and the successes all look different, you know. That one of the people I love to talk about came into my program, and she had very much subscribed to that value ladder $17 product thing. And she literally came into my program with a $17 offer. And she was a home organizer. So her $17 offer was like a home organization checklist. And she was serving like the homeowner who wanted, like a young mom who wanted to organize her home, something like that. And it took a while, you know, but we worked, and she ended up realizing that if she actually served the home organizers themselves, she could create more value. Like, she could show them, this is how I run my business. This is how you could run a home organizing business as well. And then she ended up hitting on luxury home organizing. So what she's teaching now is how a home organizer can create a luxury home organization business, which is, you know, higher value clients, right? And she's teaching them the whole infrastructure for how to do that. So she literally has a $20,000 offer now.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. I know. That's why I love to talk about her.
Yeah,
because it's such an eye-opener.
$17 to 20,000.
Yes. Yeah, I know. And she was so great to work with. It was so great to see that transformation, because it was really like, you had to just keep staying open to the fact that, you know, it doesn't have to look like this. It doesn't have to be 90. And she kind of went from like 17 to 97 to 3. She ascended her own value ladder with the solutions. But by the end of the program, she had hit on 20,000. So she's one example. I also have somebody who is actually still in the program. And again, this is like, I'm telling you, super different people, but I have someone in the program who is a business coach, who actually used to coach for Tony Robbins. He coached for Tony Robbins for a while. He's now on his own, and he found a way to incorporate some assessments into his coaching practice and sort of be able to charge more for the coaching that he delivers. So he's currently working on that, and we're working through the process. He's super fun to work with. And then I have someone, for example, this is another example. It's like, I have an Israeli circus artist in my program, a very well-known in Israel circus artist. I think she's known internationally. She's known in Europe as well, but she is very well known for like writing and creating really like jaw-dropping circus shows. This is her career.
Okay.
But she came into my program, and she was selling to circus artists. Well, circus artists aren't paid that well, right? So we kept talking about like, what, you know, how could you take this amazing thing that you do, this transformation, how could you turn it into something that's higher value? And she eventually hit on creating an offer that is targeting CEOs to help them to bring more creativity into their workplace.
Oh.
So she's she's in the testing phase right now. Not everybody does it in the first 30 days, and that's fine. So she's in the testing phase and putting like the test version of her offer out there and talking to people. So that's one of the reasons I love my program, because it just attracts all sorts of people. I love it, which is again why there's no way I wouldn't be serving people if I had like this solution in a box.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that variety of clients? Like, there's no one solution that would help those 3 people.
No, there isn't. And each of those stories was unique and so interesting. I'm like, but tell me more. I want to hear more about that person.
They're really cool people. Yeah. I've been so fortunate to attract people who are really, really interesting,
Mhm.
and very passionate about their expertise.
Yeah. And the way that you have attracted people into your business, I'm sure you using some of the same methods, because you tested them out yourself before,
Yeah.
and then now you can take that whole toolbox. And it's the same thing when people are like, I want marketing or I want PR. I'm like, well, no, you have to look at all of them and how they work together. And
Yes.
to your point, like how you can take one piece of content and amplify it across different channels, and what tweaks you make to it depending on what response you're getting from your audience on those different
Yes.
channels.
Yes, definitely. There's, one of the things that I talk about is we actually get so much feedback on our content these days. It's pretty easy to see like which piece of content people responded to because it gets a ton of comments on Facebook when you post it, or you send it out to an email list and you get a bunch of replies. It's very easy for us to see like, oh, people really responded to this content. And I don't think people pay enough attention to that. And what you want to be doing is the content pieces that people responded to, those are the ones that you want to repurpose. So you post something on Facebook, people loved it, really responded, turn it into an email, make a
Mm,
video about it, make it a theme of your next podcast episode,
nice.
right?
Yeah. So what continues to inspire and motivate you?
I mean, it's probably it's probably the answer everybody says, but for me, it's definitely my clients. I
Mhm.
just love, you know, I love when people bring me, oftentimes they think they have this intractable problem. I want to help these people and I don't know how to reach them, or I can't figure out how to package this up. And I'm like, oh, sit down. We're going to have so much fun. We're going to have so much fun because yeah, we will figure this out and we're going to have so much fun doing it. And so I really like that. I mean, I'm sort of at this point in my career that like nothing scares me. It's more like it just excites me. So just sit down, let's figure it out. Like
Awesome.
you say it's impossible, but that's the exact kind of problem I love to solve.
Yeah,
So
definitely. And what's next for you and your company?
so I mentioned before we started recording that I'm doing a little bit of corporate consulting, and that
Mhm.
has been really fun. That is similar to what I was doing earlier in my career before I brought it online.
Okay.
So it feels a little bit like I'm looping back to something I did before. But of course, now I'm bringing all these digital marketing skills to the consulting engagement. So that has been a ton of fun. That has been so much fun to help like a very different group of people, because these are corporate clients who oftentimes have a sales team.
Mhm.
They're using digital marketing to get leads into their sales team. So it's like, again, a different kind of problem to solve. And I enjoy that. So
Nice.
that's been the newest thing that's been happening lately. And it's been a lot of fun.
Great. And then for your offer, is it a rolling basis? So anybody could sign up anytime, and just join, or do you have cohorts that start at certain times?
I do have cohorts. It's sort of like a yes and yes answer. So yes, I do have cohorts, but yes, you can also sign up at any time. So
Hmm.
that 30-day test period starts on the first of each month. And
Oh,
whoever I don't bring in more than 5 people. It's a very small program because people get a lot of attention
yeah.
from me. So whoever has joined in the previous month, we start on the first of the month and we do that 30-day process.
Nice.
And it's divided into weeks and you have things to work on each week.
Mhm.
But if somebody joins, right now we're kind of midway through a month at the time we're recording this. If somebody was to join tomorrow, they could start attending our meetings. They can start asking
Oh,
questions.
okay.
There's some pre-work that they can start working on, and they just get that as like bonus time. I just give
Oh, wow.
them bonus time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a 6-month program, but they actually get 7 months total.
Yeah.
I don't usually say that until they've joined.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I would say we won't tell anyone, but we will be
We
telling
just told
people.
everyone. That's okay.
So,
But yeah, but I mean, that's a common question. So that's the answer, is that I have a cushion on either side. So that if people join early, they get 6 months plus.
yeah, nice. And Pamela, how do people find you? What's the best way to follow you on social media? Go to your website.
Yeah. The easiest way is my website. I had a completely different brand and I rebranded at the end of last year. So it's now PamelaWilson.com. It's very easy. And if they want to learn about the Offer Accelerator, there's a button, a green button in the upper right on my website. People can just click on that and see the page and apply if they're interested. I post right now on my Facebook profile, my personal Facebook profile, a lot. So if people want to read more about my thinking or get to know me, that would be a great place to connect.
Okay, wonderful.
And I have a YouTube channel. I should have said that.
Well, yes, we need to know that.
Yes, I have a YouTube channel. Pamela Wilson Coach. They can just look for Pamela Wilson Coach and they'll find me on YouTube. It's a budding baby YouTube channel, but it's getting there.
Yeah, well, you started. That's the important thing. And I'll make sure that the links for everything are in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you'd like to share, words of wisdom that you want to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I mean, if people can learn anything from my story, it's that, business is really a big experiment and we're always iterating. Even those of us who've been doing this for decades, we are always iterating. And if you think you got something wrong, try to just think of it like data. If you hadn't attempted whatever you attempted, you wouldn't have gotten that data at all, right? So now you have data. And if it didn't work, well, that's data that it didn't work. So you can just pivot and try something else. So I have found that one way to stay in business as long as I've been in business is to not get super attached to the outcome, but just kind of do your best to see it as an experiment and see where it leads you.
I like that. I love the fearless quality that you bring to this. You're like, no, we can solve this. Let's just do it. Let's get in there. And I think that is a problem a lot of people have to overcome when we're looking at starting a new business or a new course or figuring out what our online strategy is. You have to take that first step. And if you don't take that first step, you're not going to get anywhere. It can't just be a thought that lives in your head.
Absolutely. Yes.
Wonderful. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I am going to ask if you have a favorite quote.
Oh, the thing is, I'm not going to remember the exact words. There is a quote by Rainer Maria Rilke, I think is how it's said. And it talks about, I can send it to you afterwards if you want to put it in your show notes, but it talks about, it kind of ties into what we were just saying. It talks about when you are confused about something that has happened, if you can learn to love the questions that you have about that thing, you will live your way into the answer. He said it much more beautifully.
But that was actually very beautiful. That was very beautiful as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I've just always thought that was such a great approach to life. Like, life is full of questions for everyone. And so if you can just learn to love those questions and you'll live your way into the answer that works for you.
Beautiful. Pamela, thank you so much for being on the show today. I feel more encouraged about my journey to trying to start my online offers. And I think a lot of our listeners will as well. And looking forward to continuing this journey and learning more. And we'll have to have you back on to see, to get more updates and more information on what next is and what trends and other things that you're seeing as our digital landscape keeps changing.
I know, right? Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. This has been so much fun and I'm really grateful that you invited me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And to our audience, thank you for coming back for another week of Your Brand Amplified. I'm Annika Jackson, and I'll be back again next week.